Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. So, today I wanted to talk about this topic, and it came up in the group coaching session at the end of the Wednesday night session. And we had a little fun with it, sharing some stuff. And the topic is how relationships can impact symptoms. All right. So, I'll get to that in a minute. Hope everybody's well. One or two people commented that I seemed out of breath yesterday. My son pointed out that I sounded very stuffy. And so, for whatever reason, I think I ate some stuff that didn't sit with me. And when I eat food that's not ideal, I can get congested. And unfortunately, I had to shoot a video, and, that's the way it was. So that was yesterday. Anyway, relax your body. Allow your breath to slow down. Smile. You're in the right place. You can and will get better. We're all here to cheer you on. So, how relationships can impact symptoms. So, as you probably know, if you've been watching me for a while, I talk about this concept called perceived danger symptoms. That can be pain or other stuff. And it's generally, in my view, a false alarm created by an overzealous, overprotective brain perceiving danger, and in the case of chronic symptoms, incorrectly. Now, acute symptoms, you fall, you break a leg, you break an arm, acute pain has a purpose. It's designed to say, hey, you just broke an ankle, don't walk on it, right? And the pain is there to protect us. It is a warning. The brain creates all pain, whether it be acute from a true injury, surgery, medical procedure, whatever, or in the case of mind-body symptoms, the brain is still creating it based on its cognitive interpretation of what's going on, and if it perceives it as dangerous, it may sound the alarm, turn on the warning, called pain or other symptoms. So, how can relationships impact symptoms? So one of our members was talking about how she's been seeing a gentleman, and recently he's kind of gone dark for the past 10 days or so. And it seems like that has impacted her symptoms. And we talked about it. Well, she's like, sadness, hurt, maybe a little anger. And as we know, if we follow Dr. Sarno, the brain can perceive our emotions to be dangerous and therefore turn on symptoms as a result of that emotional little bit of turmoil going on. And so that can happen. And I believe it does happen fairly often, because that can happen in a dating situation, a friendship situation, a parent or child situation, a partner, relationship, spouse situation. Our interpersonal relationships, particularly with those that we are close with and we are very fond of, have the potential to cause a good deal of angst or hurt or pain emotionally. Because when we love somebody, we kind of expect them to love us back and treat us well. And when they don't, ouch, holy crap. And the brain can perceive that emotional hurt, the sadness, the pain, emotionally as danger, and therefore can turn on symptoms. Now, what I will tell you firsthand, it doesn't have to create symptoms. And I talk a lot about separating life stress from symptoms. And people go, yeah, I don't get it, Dan. How do you do that? Clarity. There's no reason an interpersonal relationship, discussion, argument, breakup, whatever it may be, should cause you physical pain or symptoms. Now it does, and we understand the stress response and the influence on the body But perceived danger symptoms are created by the brain when it perceives danger. So if the brain is still believing that emotions are dangerous, it may turn on symptoms. But clarity that it doesn't need to is really important, because even though emotions can be really difficult and hurt emotionally, why do I need to hurt physically? And I shared a couple examples. In the book I talked about how, I got better in the middle of my marriage not working out. And so I was able to get better and end symptoms despite the fact that, my wife and I decided to part ways. Now I've had other relationships since then, a 7-year relationship, a 3.5-year relationship. I have had a number of dating situations that have been less than ideal, where there was being discarded, ghosted, whatever it may be. Dating these days is a trip. So you can just imagine that you got to have thick skin and be prepared for, what happens. And yeah, there's been some times that were fairly upsetting. Anger, sadness, hurt, feeling discarded, abandoned, and those things happen. Being ghosted basically means they just stop communicating. And so despite all of that, no chronic symptoms. I don't hurt. I don't have symptoms as a result of these interpersonal relationships. So you don't have to either. And whether it be somebody really important like a spouse or a long-term relationship or a parent or a child or a best friend or an acquaintance, interpersonal relationships can sometimes cause symptoms, but like anything, life stress, we can teach the brain that we don't have to hurt, we don't have to have symptoms just because life is stressful, life is emotional. And I've talked about lots of things. People are like, I'm in a stressful job. I'll never get better as long as I'm in the job. Yes, you can. We can separate the life stress, the emotions from the need for symptoms. We can literally teach the brain, hey, brain, I can handle those emotions. I'm going to feel them. And in my view, I don't think we need to go back and, excavate the past. My approach is to allow ourselves to feel the right now emotions. Because in truth, there are no past emotions. There are no future emotions. All emotions are felt in the present. Now, clarity here. We can think about the past, and that will create the emotion that we experienced in the past. But when do you feel it? Right now. So my view is allow yourself to feel whatever emotions are coming to the surface now, to teach your brain that emotions are safe. It is exposure therapy to emotions. And if you allow yourself to feel the emotions, the mild ones, the wild ones, the brutal ones, your brain's eventually going to go, wow, look at Dan experiencing these emotions from personal relationships or life stress or whatever's going on, grief, you name it. But he's okay. Those emotions didn't crush him. And even if they felt crushing, he's still okay. Because emotions, when we allow ourselves to feel them without judgment, without looping on the story behind it, story mode, the emotions pass. So we can literally teach our brain that emotions are safe and do not require symptoms to protect us from these emotions. Now, it does happen, but it doesn't need to. Interpersonal relationships can cause symptoms, but it doesn't need to. And that's the key takeaway here. Symptoms do not need to happen due to life events that are not physical impact to our body. Emotional, mental, life stress, work stress, family stress, financial stress, relationship stress doesn't need to hurt us physically or create symptoms. So I know I'm repeating that point, but it's really, really key. Allow yourself to feel the emotions. Don't judge them. Don't hold on to them. Holding on to a resentment or a grudge, that never really helps us, because that keeps us looping on the story and the rumination of what happened. And so I hope this helps. I know there's a lot of people out there that sometimes are having relationship problems because of their symptoms. And then those relationship problems can double down and, reinforce the symptoms too, because now you feel extra hurt because the person that's supposed to be caring for you and understanding is sometimes less than that. And so I do recognize that relationship challenges can cause symptoms, but I'll also acknowledge symptoms. Depending upon you and the people around you, your symptoms and your suffering can also cause relationship problems. And that's a touchy subject, because we want the support, we want the love, we want the caring. And I've talked about this in a separate video. I'll try to link that below, where I talk about, how relationships can be impacted by this. But this is kind of the opposite. How relationship challenges don't need to create symptoms, even though they sometimes do. So instead of covering that other side of it again in this video, I'm going to link to it down below in the description if you're interested in how symptoms can sometimes impact relationships. Look down below. I'll find that video and I'll link it below. But this one, relationships can sometimes cause symptoms, but they don't need to. So, love you folks, and as always, we will see you tomorrow. Take care.